What's up, everyone? We are back with another video on how I made my latest track, Bunce. Now this one's a little different. I'll give you a preview of it real fast here. All right, and that is, a little different than what I usually create. Usually I make more chill out stuff, but I just had a vibe going for this one. Decided that I wanted to go ahead and push this whole track to completion. Also, I thought it would be useful for maybe somebody else who's looking to create this genre on the mobile device. I think it would, picking apart some of these will help you out in your own productions. So the very first thing that's kind of different is that you see it's a 132 BPM tempo. So that means it's a little bit faster. Usually I create things around 120 to 124, from 118 is my favorite. But this one is a little bit faster than usual. So, keep that in mind that usually for this kind of energy and vibe, you might want to go a little bit faster. But, then again, it's your own kind of choice. Second up here, we start off with pretty much like a powerful little drum beat. Now, before I go too deep into the drums here, I just want to say that I used the template for starting a new electro-house track. So if you go to new and it says templates, you click electro-house. That's what the template I started from, which automatically routes your kick mix, your kick by itself. So up here is a kick mix right here. And you can see that there's a filter on the kick mix and a little bit of EQ here to make the drums sound a little bit more cleaner, a little bit more tighter. We go into the kick itself and we look and we see that we have a lot of decay going on, and the sustain knob turned all the way down, and it's pitched down about -3 cents or semitones. This just is something that kind of keeps it into more of fits the groove of the track more. So that's the angle I went at it as, and we just kind of went from there. The next thing is this little slicer. Selection. I don't know, what you really want to call it, but it's just a slicer of each little drum that I picked, and then you can look over here on the side. You can see it's been sliced up into pieces on this plug-in here, and I used Drumax Electro A. So nothing really special, but we did add a couple of things. This phaser, the spacer, which gives a little stereo, and then we added some EQ down there on the bottom. That gives it more of so you don't even hear this one really. We can play this beginning part right here, and you'll see what I mean. Whoops. So you can see you can barely hear it, but it sort of gives it that extra space that kind of fills in the drum track a little bit better. So that's why I kind of went ahead and used that. And also I really liked the way it sounded when it was sort of like the quiet parts of the track. You could hear this little faded drum beat sort of filling in the space back there. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's why I put that in there. Next up, we have some hats, obviously, and that's just to make it more energetic, we can solo these out. Make it more energetic as far as when the drums kick in. So you can just see it just adds a little bit more meat, a little bit more energy to the whole rhythm of the song that's going on. Everything sort of has a build-up happening to it, and that's what makes it, kind of this little housey, electro, dancey sort of vibe, So this other drum beat right here, this cowbell loop is what it says. This is the same thing. It's actually a slicer. And the different thing about this is that I went ahead and I went through the whole work of downloading my Vengeance samples on my iPad, and then I imported them into FL Studio Mobile, and then I used that in the slicer to beat match it, because these samples are at 128 originally, so you'll have to beat match them in a way. So you have to use slicer. Honestly, it's the fastest way to do it. Now you could stretch them, but the stretch algorithm doesn't work the same as it would in native FL, like on the computer. So using slicer is probably the fastest way to get everything synced up to your tempo and not cause you issues in the long run, like, you know, it drifting off the tempo and things like that. This keeps it all kind of concise and quantized. So if you do import an external drum loop, just use slicer. Just use slicer, and then go ahead and open that into the slicer plugin. It'll automatically slice it into, depending on what it is, and you can use these knobs, the sensitivity, attack, decay, to kind of tailor where the pitches come in at, where the splits come in at. So that's what I did there. It's the only thing I really done that was external. Everything else is pretty much internal, like it comes with the actual mobile itself. So if you do open this up in your own project, you might not have this little bit right here, but that's the only thing. You can literally put any other drum loop in there and it'll probably still sound just as good. So that basically makes out the drums. I just kind of wanted them sort of hard hitting, sort of like, you know, there. That reverb was already there when I opened up the template. And I didn't mess with it because I thought it sounded pretty good. So, you know, I didn't do too much of adjusting there, or too much difference there. I just thought that it would be, you know, as long as it comes in with that sort of groove already going, the rest of it sort of filled itself in. And that's exactly what happened here. Is I just let the drums start the groove, and then I started just filling in the pieces as we went into the groove. The first most prominent part of the groove is this little... it's this repeated element that happens basically throughout 90% of the track. And that's sort of like, you know, I think when I was creating it, that's sort of what I came up with first. Like a lot of these things I picked up, they were already instruments that were like that were already put into the track as part of the template. So I decided to work within the limitations of what it gave me, and then that sort of appeared from there. So these top two are kind of the same, but we have a little couple of different you know, things going on here. You can look, you can see there's a lot of filters, flangers, reverbs, auto duck, which is your side chain, inbuilt EQ that was already there, and I think everything else. Yeah, see the EQ is already there, but you can look at these two and see there's vastly different sort of effects going on here. So you know, that's kind of something you can do is take one plugin here, use it, and then clone it, and then you have another option to go ahead and change that up a little bit more to add a different sort of variation to it, maybe a different rhythm, and then you can create some pretty interesting things. So you know, I used that in there, and then this little piece right here is kind of like a little bit of like a ride of the rhythm, you know, like a rhythmic ride, if you want to call it that. And I thought I liked it. I thought it sounded cool. It reminded me of like some old Deadmau5 type music, and so I just went ahead and went with it. And you can see it's pretty snappy as far as like how it comes in. That's because of the sidechain auto duck filter that was jumping in there. It's sort of shooting it down really hard, causing it to spike, give it that little peak sound a little bit. I don't know if I really did anything to kind of fix that, but you know, looking back on it, I might try to maybe change a little bit of. Oh, I did. See, I tried to increase the attack a little bit and lower the release. You know, those are just some things you can kind of do to sort of address that. But the real answer is turning down how the intensity of the auto duck. So maybe if I would have put this on like 80 or something, it would have probably helped address that. But I felt like it didn't really detract from the whole groove of the song, so I wasn't too worried about it. A lot of these decisions might be fast, you know, in the mix. You're not trying to get super technical about it, so you know, keep that in mind. Don't worry if it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. The next part of this track, the next main part, there's probably three main parts. There's like a main bass, this little steady, consistent little sound, and this little build up kind of ARP sound. But we'll go ahead and address these little bass sounds right here. So let's go ahead and solo that out, unsolo this, see how this sounds. And you can already tell like what that's for. Like that's the kind of grungy, housey sort of, consistent ride of the bass line that we went in here. This little piece underneath it is just a layer into which, I just added that thickness, which also added a little bit more character. So it wasn't just that sort of low brassy synth sound. It also had a little bit of like an upper mid-range sound to it. And if we solo that out, you'll see how much different it sounds, but it still sort of has the same register, And combine those together, and it kind of has a full lower portion sound. There's a lot more you could do to this. You could probably route both of these out to its own effects rack. And then compress them both together, maybe some multi-band on the low end. I didn't get too crazy into it. I ended up just using some multi-band on the master, just sort of tailoring up and keeping everything from looking too crazy, from over peaking or anything like that. Everything looks pretty much decent, and I like the way it sounded to my ears, so I'll just roll with it. But of course, you can get as in-depth and technical as you want with this. Really, I hope this guides you into creating, your own versions of these tracks, so that, you can bust out your own awesome house tunes in whatever way you feel is good. But anyways, back to the point, these two together are what created kind of the low end of the track, which is one of the main portions of how this track comes out. Next up is right down here, which is, which is the really interesting part about this that I hope is if you look at the MIDI information, you can see that they're all pretty much the same. And I hope that's a big kind of tip off to you, the producer, if you're producing. You don't have to always have something different going on. You can simply just use a layer fashion. And the way I layered these, even though a lot of them have the same MIDI information, which, these are your MIDI notes right here. Even though a lot of them may have the same, it doesn't mean they're in the same place. So the rhythm of them might be different. And you can tell that from this piece right here, this lead synth right here, and then these little bottom lead synths right here, that even though they have the same MIDI, which is like the fat analog to bass, they're not in the same place. So I thought it was cool. I liked it. I ran with it. I didn't really question it. I just it sort of hit me like, oh, let's do that. And it worked out. And that's kind of my whole point, is maybe you don't need to actually worry about too much of changing the synth or the MIDI information, but rather change the rhythm, the point at which it appears in the the pattern, and then go from there. So that way, you're not reinventing the wheel or trying to add too many extra things to it. And I'd argue that this probably has, pretty much a limit of extra things to it already. But, it's your track. So go crazy if you want to, or go simple if you want to. Don't let nobody really tell you too much of the difference. So anyways, we'll go ahead and listen to this piece right here. These synths together. And like I said, if you listen to it in conjunction with the low end, the bass, I'll let you hear it here. You can really sort of see what I'm talking about, as far as the MIDI notes are the same, but they don't hit at the same spot. So I just kind of moved these forward a little bit, and sort of had it, off beating on the main rhythm of the bass of the lower end. And, I hope that's a useful trick for you. Try it out at least. If you're kind of stuck and you want to add some variation, try that out. And then, you might actually have a few, sparks of creativity from doing that little exercise right there. So that repeats throughout the track. That's the second main element right there. And then after that, everything else is sort of like just additional pieces to it. Like there's this lead here, and it's not really anything too crazy. Like I just found a preset lead synchro, and I just sort of, added the same MIDI information. So you can look here, the same MIDI information is here. That way I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just adding that in there as a part of the track, but I'll let you hear it here. And yeah, that's pretty much the same. I do think there's a little bit of variation right there, like it kind of goes down one note or whatever, but the rhythm of it is the same. So, there's not like, I'm not really making anything new. I'm just sort of using what I already had, which is this main motif right here with the bass, and creating my own pieces around it. So I hope that's helpful, because that's kind of like the main trick of this whole track, is using that and using it in a fashion that makes it, kind of more interesting to the listener, or maybe more vibe, more groovy, whatever you want to call it. So last part here is this, it says complextro, because that's exactly what I picked. I picked, this out from the presets. It's really, really lightly modified. There's not a lot of modifications going on here. But I did duplicate it because I wanted to have like a lower end of the portion and a upper end. So like these together, which I'll play them together here. And then like we could solo this out so you can see what I'm talking about. And then we could solo this bottom portion out here so you can hear what I'm talking about there. I mean, it's kind of like your classic whoop sound that you would hear in a dubstep song. But the thing is, I kind of used a layer of the two. So we had the sort of the deeper growly whoop, and then I had like a more of a vocal sound on top of it, and that was achieved with this multi-FX filter. And I just kind of, I actually has an LFO running to it, and I have the LFO running really slowly. So it's kind of going like this, but it's slowly over a couple of portions of the beat. So that added that little bit of interest to the whoops, and I really liked it. I thought it was cool. That's why I rolled with it. And it sort of appears in like the most high intense energy versions of the track, and it carries out to the end. So it doesn't really come in and the first minute or half. I don't really know. I think it's like a couple minutes of the track here. You don't hear it, but then when it really kicks in, that's when the whoops come in, and it just, all it's really there for is just to add that little bit of extra oomph and groove to the track. So I liked it. I thought it sounded good. That's why I put it in there. And that's really how all my decisions go. If I like it the way it sounds and it sounds good, I put it in there and I try to mix it in there, and I do the best I can. So that's pretty much all of it. But we do have one awesome little section here that I want to go over, because I haven't really done this before in my music. Most of the time I don't use anything that has to do with mini vocals unless it's washed out in reverb or chopped up in such a way. But this one was really cool. I found this as a preset, vocoder SFX preset. So you can go here, and it's in the I don't know where this is at, like where at in here, but it's in here somewhere. Like you'll find it. But it's a direct wave sampler, and I pulled it up in there, and it has a bunch of different sounds, So it's, and now we put fire. And so I went ahead and used the countdown one, so we can solo that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that sort of just kind of help builds up to the drop of the track. The track's dropping down, and that comes back in here at the end of this little sort of bridge section, little kind of breather section, and I use it again. And the only thing we did with this was, we just found a thing that we added some distortion on it to kind of make it a little bit more growly and grungy. So you know, without the distortion, oops, without the distortion, it sounds like this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, whoops. I might have accidentally had some recording going on.
5, 4, 3.
So I added that distortion there to make it, you know, a little bit more crunchier and grungier, kind of less understandable, more garbly. And it was just a creative decision. It wasn't no rhyme or reason to it. I just really liked the idea of adding that to there. And that carried out to the drums. And then I have a little bit more where it comes in. These little audio effects come in sort of near the end. And, you know, you can pull this up and you can take a peek at each little element and see what you like and what about it. But, you know, I always suggest if you do download this, do things like just take out all of, you know, the melodic content, just delete it all or something. And then you know, go from there to create your own things on top of it. And or you could delete the drums, you know, maybe you could take this rhythm, you could edit this rhythm, and you see it's on the C, you can maybe take it and move it to, like, you know, the D or the E. You know, we can go up maybe to the C sharp or D, and then make your own sort of variation that way, and see what you can come up with. You know, that's what I feel like these project files will be good for. Maybe helping you get started if you're in a rough spot. You know, keeping you inspired to kind of create something, or you're like, all right, let me just try to remix this guy's track into my own version, or make it better, you know, and put it out better for you know, my own purposes, for your own you know, your own fun and entertainment. But also maybe you could make something that's better, or, you know, higher quality, put it out, get it signed by a label perhaps, or maybe a YouTube channel could pick it up. There's a lot of options you can do with it, but most of all, I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a you know, a treasure to sit down and create something new. And after that, you know, it's all the same thing from there. To start you up a new project, get into it, try new things out, try to create awesome little things, awesome little parts of it. Like I said, don't be afraid to experiment. Try some vocal additions. Use the same little MIDI effects, you know, MIDI. Use the same MIDI layout, and then you know, maybe change the rhythm, and you know, go from there. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this was educational in such a way that you can go and make your own. If you don't have this, go and download it from my website, Z8phyR.com/mobile. You can download this project file for the mobile device. So if you're on the iPhone, Android, iPad, it don't matter. You can download this, pull it up on your phone, put on some headphones if you want, and listen to it more in depth, break it apart on your own time. Let me know if you have any questions, or go out there, remix this, tag me in the remix, let me know what you did. I appreciate it. Much love, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one, and hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye, everybody.